Welcome back to the Auto Ranch. The first spring Afro is gone, and we have a good spring car in the garage to talk about this evening. It's one of my favorites, and it's also, believe it or not, the most popular sports car in the world. Though they don't sell a ton of these in the U.S., I think, since they came out with what they call the ND version, or the fourth generation. I think they've sold on average about 8,000 of these a year, probably less in the last couple of years. Like anything, they're hard to get right now. Because they build these in Japan, and they ship them over here. So it's quite a journey to get one once they're built. So anyways, I'll turn it around since it's a much better thing to look at than me. But a 2022 Mazda Miata soft top in probably the best color red on the planet. Soul red crystal is what they call this color, and unfortunately the garage lights don't really do it justice. It's kind of one of those cars that if you see it in the sunlight, it's a tri-coat paint, and it is not exaggerate. It is the best red, under $100,000 at least, that's out there, and it just shines when the light hits it. This particular one is the first one that I've had that has the sport appearance package, which is basically the ground effects along the bottom and in the front lip. And then in the back there's actually a diffuser where they kind of come off of the back, but it gives the car a further low appearance, which I've liked. I've always kind of wanted one with that package, though most of the time they're not ordered. You have to kind of custom order one, which I did on this car. I've had it about a month and put about 500 miles on it. I probably had, it's stupid. I won't even tell you how many ND Miatas I've had. I generally will do at least one a year. They generally hold their value pretty well. You don't really get hurt bad when you sell them, because they're, particularly the last couple of years, there's not a lot of them, particularly the soft tops. Mazda generally wants you to buy the hard top, so which some would argue is maybe a better looking car, but it's just not the same thing when you drive this car with the soft top versus the hard top. The soft top is if you want a convertible experience, this is the way to go, is the soft top. Though they do make more, it seems like they make more of the RF, or retractable fastback they call it, for the US than they do soft tops. The only thing I wish they still did, they used to offer a lighter color interior. Now this year on the red, you can only get the black. They're offering a terracotta, which I wish they would have done on the red. It's kind of like a brownish color. But I'm a red with tan fan. The first Corvette I ever had was red with tan. I've just always kind of liked that color combination. But they didn't offer it this year. Last year they had a red with white, which was almost too light. But the previous year they had a red with tan, which is the perfect combination. But Mazda does a nice job with these. The inside of them, they bring the body color inside to the doors, so you kind of see that. These also have a real high belt line, so when you're driving, you can kind of see, similar to how some of the older, the C6 Corvettes, even the C7, they would have the kind of the bulging front fenders. And it of course comes, you can get it in an automatic, but the real fun with this car is the manual. I never used to be as big of a manual fan as I am today, but on this car you have to get the manual. I've had them in the automatic and they're okay, but it's not the same. This is a very easy manual to drive, and the manual gearbox itself is probably one of the best, under $100,000 manual gearboxes you can buy. I mean, and that's not me talking. That's, all the people who review a lot more expensive cars than me. And I like sound, so, the motor, the factory exhaust on these is pretty boring. But they're simple enough that even an idiot like me can replace the exhaust. And I did put a Borla exhaust on this. It's basically just a muffler, an axle back as they call it. And it does make a huge difference. It's still a 4-cylinder, and it's hard to make a 4-cylinder sound great, but it does have a deep sound to it with the Borla. Borla, I've tried a few different systems. Borla is definitely my favorite on these. And the thing I was thinking about this the other night when I was driving this car with the top down. I mean, one, you can't beat top down driving. If you haven't experienced that, you're missing out, and if you haven't done it in a while, it is really refreshing. It's kind of like a motorcycle driving one of these, except it's a little safer. It's not 100% like driving a bike, but very similar, with a little bit more protection. And the other thing, I hear a lot about, obviously we're all faced with high gas prices, right now. I get 38 miles to the gallon with this car. And yeah, it's only 181 horsepower and like 156 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, but it only weighs like under 2,400 pounds. It actually weighs the same as the SER did back in 1992. And it's a modern car with all the modern safety stuff. So to be able to do that, it's actually not tremendously heavier than the original 1990 Miata, which for me, when I was in high school, I had a Chrysler LeBaron convertible. It was a big, heavy, slow, clanky car. And a friend of mine in high school's dad worked for a Mazda dealer for a brief period. And during 1990, when the Miata came out, and he brought one home as a demo. And I mean, I could have driven that car across the country. I love driving that car. I mean, compared to my Chrysler LeBaron convertible, I knew then that these cars would always kind of have a special place for me, and not just for me, for a lot of other people. They get kind of a reputation as I don't know, not to be sexist, but people say, oh, that's a girl's car, or whatever other analogy that they want to use. I always say that's all good until you drive one, and then let me know. And then people after they drive one, they do change their mind about it. And with this generation, the 4th generation, they did make them more masculine, the way the fender lines come up. And to go back to what I was saying, it's really all you need. It's not a super fast car, but it's light, and it's kind of that old saying that, it's better to drive a slow car fast, right? Than drive a fast car slow. And there's a lot of truth to driving this car. It makes you, because it's low center of gravity, it's lightweight, with the muffler, it sounds decent. All in all, it's, you can have this car next to it that's 444 horsepower. Yeah, it weighs 3,600 pounds. It sounds terrific, and in the modern package of the Mustang, or whether it's a Mustang or a Camaro, you're spending 50 grand pretty much. So, $20,000 more than the Miata, and I guarantee you it's not giving you any more miles per gallon or per horsepower as this Miata does. And drive one. Don't take my word for it. It's really the reason they're as popular as they are across the globe. Is for that reason. I mean, it still is an affordable car that is a ton of fun to drive. Plus, it's a convertible to go with also, which, like I said, is if you haven't experienced that or haven't done it in a while, I highly encourage it. So this is the latest one. Like I said, I've had this for a month. I'll drive it through the summer, and come the fall, it'll be time to get something else. But again, right now, these are, like anything, there's just not many of them around, particularly in the soft tops. So it's a car you can enjoy for a little while, and if I was smart, I'd just buy one that I really like and keep it, but what fun would that be? So anyways, that's kind of the update for the latest in the garage. I traded the GR86 for this. I only had that for a couple months, which ironically, some people say the GR86 is the competitor to this car. I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. I think they're very different cars. GR86 is probably, like I said when I did that review, when I got that car's probably a little better handling car than the Miata. This car actually has a fair amount of body roll for what it is, though they did put this thing called kinetic posture control into it for 2022. It was basically using the traction control system to stop the wheel, some wheel spin or instability in curves. But the reality is the GR86 is probably a better handling car. They're both about the same price point. But if I had to pick a car, there's not a doubt in my mind I would pick the Miata if I had to pick one of the two. The GR86 is a much more practical car for daily driving compared to a Miata. So I traded that for the Miata, and it didn't last long at the dealer. I think they had it sold before that day I traded it. So it just shows you again how crazy the market is, and those, like anything else, they've really gotten some traction with the younger generation because it's one of the few cars similar to this that's, or except in those GR86 case, it's actually practical as a daily driver, that's somewhat affordable and is sporty. So I do miss that. I thought about keeping both, but realistically, that's a waste of a garage space. Having both, the Miata will get driven the most in the nicer weather. So that's kind of the update for now, but I figured I would share that just because these are kind of a passion of mine. They're fun little cars, don't cost a lot of money, get great gas mileage, they're convertible. And like I said, in the red, soul red crystal color, it's not doing it justice. If you're interested, Google it, and there's some pictures out there of them in the sun. It is the best red out there. And to be in a car packaged under $40,000, to me, there's just not much of that sort of stuff left in the high inflation, expensive car period that we're in right now. So that's all I got. I hope you guys are all doing well and enjoying the spring. We'll talk later.